Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, we are going to check out the new SSR Plus collab character, IJIN. We're going to check out his kit, best build, best team, and of course his performance, and is he worth summoning for. So let's not waste any time and let's go ahead and hop right into the video. So as you guys can see right here, for my summon video, I did a few summons and he reached like 3 green stars. But I did more summons because I wanted to max out 003. 003, she's going to be in the next guide video. But this unit right here is kind of crazy, but I'm not going to say anything about her. So let's go ahead and check out IJIN's kit. So for his passive bond, it says Ejin's bond with his comrades increases his attack by 40% for every red element ally in the team at the start of the battle. In addition, his damage taken decreases by 20% for every surviving ally other than himself, and his physical pierce increases by 20% for every dead ally, max 4 stacks. The bond effect cannot be removed with buff removal skills. So this passive right here is the best part about his kit because the decreased damage taken by 20% for every surviving ally, that's pretty much 100% decreased damage taken, which makes him extremely tanky. And then for the physical pierce increase, this is cracked. So when your allies die, he's pretty much going to receive like a 80% physical pierce increase when all of your allies die. So this pretty much allows him to not only be very tanky, but this allows him to deal insane damage when your whole team dies. So this pretty much makes him like a solo carry unit. You want to use him in a team where you have really squishy allies so that when they die, he's going to deal insane nuclear damage with his ultimate. Now, when we move on to his active skill, Maneuver Switch, it says Ejin becomes invincible and dashes at the enemy, dealing 800% of his attack as damage, stunning them for 4 seconds, and blocking their HP recovery for 8 seconds. After using the skill, Ejin evades all enemy skills for 8 seconds. This is cracked. So, the fact that he's avoiding enemy skills for 8 seconds is absolutely insane. And I'm pretty sure maneuver switch, it can only activate one time because it says that he dashes at the enemy at the start of the battle. And I don't think he activates this active skill again. So he pretty much avoids enemy attacks for like 8 seconds, which is crazy. So I will say maneuver switch makes him very good in terms of survivability. And then for his next active skill, No Mercy, it says Ejin deals 700% of his attack as damage to nearby enemies and makes them bleed for 10 seconds, further dealing 175% of his attack as damage every second. Ejin takes a defensive stance to become immune to status effects while using this skill. So he has bleed damage and he increases his damage by like 175% of his attack every like he pretty much deals 175% of his attack as damage every second when he activates the bleed. And then he's also immune to status effects when he's using this skill. And then last but not least, we have his ultimate, number 001. Ejin attacks nearby enemies to deal 350% of his attack as damage 5 times, then throws a grenade to further deal 700% of his attack as damage and send enemies airborne for 3 seconds. Each hit makes the target bleed for 6 seconds, dealing 175% of his attack as damage every second. Ejin evades all attacks while using the skill, and his evasion increases by 52.5% for 8 seconds once the skill ends. So this is insane. Like the fact that he has evasion increase, right? He has bleeding, he has a lot of damage in his kit. He has, invincibility where he can avoid enemy attacks for 8 seconds. He can increase his attack by like 40% for every red element ally. So that's pretty much, I think, 4, 8, 12. That's pretty much 160% attack increase because of red element allies. Decreased damage taken, physical pierce increase. Like his kit is very stacked, and it's really easy for you to, reach at least 80% physical pierce thanks to his passive. So I will say his kit on paper sounds really good. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his exclusive equipment. So for his exclusive equipment, it says for level 1, No Mercy is enhanced, increasing the bleed damage factor by an additional 40%. Level 2, No Mercy is enhanced, increasing the duration of bleed by an additional 5 seconds. And then for level 3, IJIN recovers 300 energy upon a successful evasion. The energy recovery effect does not activate again for 6 seconds. And then for level 4, the target's energy decreases by 500 when landing maneuver switch. So I will say the best part about his exclusive equipment is level 3 and level 4. For level 1 and 2, I mean, this can probably be good for bosses, but bleed damage isn't really that good, especially in adventure mode. It's just not strong at all. So I will say level 3 and 4, the fact that he's recovering energy and he's also decreasing the opponent's energy is really good. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his revolution. So for revolution tier 4, it says bond is enhanced, making all damage dealt to bleeding enemies result in critical hits. So for revolution tier 4, you pretty much don't have to worry about crit rate because he has the ability to land a guaranteed crit hit as long as the enemy is bleeding, which is really good. Now for revolution tier 5, IJIN's attack increases by 60% for 10 seconds every time he makes an enemy bleed with number 001 max 5 stacks. So that is pretty much 300% attack increase every time he makes an opponent bleed with his ultimate. That is insane. So you guys can clearly see that he has a lot of attack in his kit. So therefore, the fact that he is a warrior character, the sub nodes are always going to be dog shit for warrior characters, but as long as their revolution and their kit has a ton of attack, then the sub nodes, they're not really a requirement. So I will say when it comes to the sub nodes, you don't have to focus on evasion because he gets a ton of evasion in his kit already. You don't have to focus on lifesteal. You only want to focus on the crit damage increase and the max cooldown reduction, and that's pretty much it. So I will say when it comes to investing in this unit, he's going to be very easy to build due to the fact that you don't have to invest so much into his revolution. Only have to worry about the tier 4, tier 5 max cooldown reduction and the crit damage increase. Now let's go ahead and talk about ignition weapons. So the best set for him is going to be Alocasia's set. And the reason why is because he is a physical damage type unit. So therefore Alocasia is going to give him a ton of physical pierce. Plus it's going to give him evasion, which is really good. So Alocasia set, I feel like Alocasia set is definitely the best in slot set for him because he'll be able to, increase his physical pierce by a lot, and he'll be able to reach at least over 100% physical pierce, which is crazy because he already gets a ton of physical pierce from his passive if his allies die. So Alocasia definitely the best set for him. Now, if you don't have, any Alocasia sets, another decent set would be Rihanna's set, and the reason why is because he dashes towards the enemy at the start of the battle to deal crazy damage. So Rihanna's set wouldn't be a bad set to put on him, but you won't be able to not okay, this is not the Rihanna set. This is it. You'll be able to receive that huge attack increase, which is really good. So I will say Rihanna's set wouldn't be too bad on him if you don't have Alocasia. But if you do have Alocasia, you definitely want to build Alocasia because it's literally the best set for him. Increases physical pierce and increases evasion. Now, when we talk about slot 4 and 5, so you want to focus on magic and physical resistance. Now, the reason why is because you want him to stay alive as long as possible so that he'll be the only one remaining on the battlefield, so that he'll be able to receive the physical pierce buff from his allies dying. So giving him crit damage increase and physical pierce, I feel like he's gonna have too much physical pierce. So if you want to go like, let's say, physical resistance and crit damage increase, that wouldn't be a bad idea because he already lands guaranteed crit hits with his revolution tier 4, so you don't have to worry about crit rate at all. But I would still go for the magic and physical resistance so that the chances of him staying alive is far more likely, and once all of his allies die, he'll be able to receive all the buffs from his passive. So I would definitely go for physical and magic resistance for slot 4 and 5. Now, when it comes to substats, so the stats that you guys want to focus on for this character, you want to focus on magic and physical resistance. You want to focus on physical pierce and crit damage increase. You don't want to get crit rate on him because he can already get guaranteed crit hits with his Revolution tier 4. So you only want to get crit damage increase, physical pierce, magic, and physical resistance. Those are like the top stats that you guys should focus on for this character. Do not build a lot of evasion on him because he already gets a ton of evasion from his kit. Getting some accuracy wouldn't be bad, but I still feel like crit damage increase, magic and physical resistance, and physical pierce are the top priority when it comes to substats. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his gameplay right here. So you guys can see at the start of the battle, he instantly dashed towards the enemy and he applied that HP recovery block. So he has that attack increase. Now you see no mercy right here. Once he does his ultimate, right? He does his ultimate. There it is. And now he has maneuver switch. So, okay, so it seems like he can actually activate maneuver switch multiple times. It's not just at the beginning of the battle. That's actually pretty good. So, wow, that makes him a lot more tanky. But I don't really see the enemy bleeding at all. Okay, we actually see the bleed. Never mind. I see the bleed. There it is. So, you guys can see that the enemy is bleeding. And the fact that they're bleeding, guaranteed crit hits. Look at that. It's always going to be guaranteed crit. So, that's pretty much his gameplay in a nutshell. You're just, using his ultimate and he's just dealing damage. That's his entire gameplay. And when we take a look at his ultimate animation, let's take a look at it. This is what his ultimate looks like. It's pretty simple and basic, to be honest. Like, I'm not, hype about his ultimate. It's not really crazy. So, yeah, that's pretty much his ultimate animation. Now let's go ahead and talk about team comps and his gameplay. So I feel like the best team comp for him is this team right here, because the whole point of this team is for IJIN to be the only unit alive on the battlefield and everybody else just pretty much dies. So you guys can see that Princess Anak, she's a tank unit, but her survivability is still squishy. So she actually benefits IJIN a lot because once she dies, she'll be like, IJIN will receive that physical pierce increase. So you want to use 003 with IJIN because 003, this unit is insane for red element because of her passive. She's just crazy. Her ultimate is also insane as well. This unit is just really, really good. But of course, I'm going to talk about her in her own guide video. And of course, you want to have Albelda paired up with IJIN so that she can give him the invincibility frames and she can also buff his damage. And then Gia, she's just there to buff up red element allies damage, and she's also there to buff up Albelda because of her passive, which is really good. So this team right here, very, very strong. I'm going to go ahead and enter battle right here, and you guys are going to see how crazy he is when it comes to soloing enemies. Like, when all of your allies die, he just solos. It's absolutely crazy. And I was able to beat 2 floors using this team. So, right, we do that right there. And I will say, when it comes to, his greatest weakness, I will say Flight Uric is his weakness because of the shield. So it's really hard for him to eliminate Flight Uric. But you guys can see right here, Gia died. And even if your allies, if they don't die, he can still deal pretty solid damage. It's just that in really extreme high deficits, it's going to be really hard for him to eliminate enemies. But honestly, not a lot of people are above floor 100. I'll say like the average players around floor 60 or floor 70. So if you're around like floor 60 or 70, he's still going to perform very, very well for you. You guys can see right here, 496 billion damage. He received 0 damage. That's crazy. So he has a lot of invincibility in his kit, which is really good overall. So we're going to enter the next stage right here, and same exact team again. Hopefully this time all of our allies die so that you guys can see his performance when he's by himself. He's insane when he's by himself. But I will say another weakness is the fact that he is only strong in a red element team. Like, his true potential lies in red element. If you're using him in any other team, sure, he'll be able to, defeat enemies, but it's not going to be as efficient as a red element team. So I will say, if you don't have your red element team built, IJIN, his performance isn't going to be at its peak You want to put him in a red element team, and you want to use him with characters who pretty much have low survivability, so that he'll be able to activate the physical pierce buff. You guys can see right here, 401 billion damage. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try a 2 red star Ejin that you guys can see his performance with low copies. So let's go ahead and put in 2 red star Ejin, and let's put in his ignition weapon. Come down over here, there it is. So this is going to be a 2 red star Ejin, and we have Evankel as our opponent. Now, some people are debating, who's better, Evankel or Ejin, or Violet or Ejin. Now, I will say Violet is still better, because when Violet uses his ultimate, Ejin cannot do anything to Violet. So Violet is still stronger, because once he uses ult, it's over for Ejin. But Evankel, on the other hand, Ejin does have the ability to eliminate Evankel. He does have that ability, but it's still going to be really hard for him to eliminate her, because she has AoE damage. So as you guys can see right here, with low copies, he still has great survivability. It's just that his damage isn't as high with low dupes. So if this was like a max copy Ejin, he would have been, destroyed this level. So he's the only one left, and he died. And 003, she's dead too. So with low dupes, you're pretty much just missing out on that damage. You guys can see 91 billion damage. You're missing out on that damage because of the Revolution tier 4 and 5. So with low dupes, he can still deal solid damage. It's just that you're not getting the guaranteed crit hits, and you're not getting that huge attack boost, which is unfortunate. So once again, I will say, if you're trying to invest in Ejin, you want to max him out. You want to max him out. If you're at like a really low deficit, I feel like he can perform very, very well in mid game and early game with just low copies. But if you're at this level where you're going up against enemies who are like 200 levels above you or 300 levels above you, then you want to max him out because of the huge attack increase from his revolution. So we're going to go ahead and use the same team, but this time a max dupe Ejin, and you guys are going to see how he's going to clear this. And going back to the whole Evankel and Violet topic, for red element, the top DPS units for red element are Jinsung, Evankel, and Violet. Now that Ejin is in the game, I think it goes from Evankel as number 1, then it goes to Violet as number 2, and then it goes to Ejin probably as number 3. Because the thing about Jinsung is Jinsung, he's really good, but he requires max dupes. Like, you actually want to max him out. And since he's like a single target unit, his survivability is not as good as Ejin. Meanwhile, for Ejin, he benefits when his allies die. He gets like a huge physical pierce boost. So I will say, and this is based off of my opinion, I do feel like Ejin is better than the maxed out Jinsung, due to the fact that he gets a bunch of attack increase, guaranteed crit hit. It's really, really good for Ejin overall. But for the next SSR plus character, Alice, she's probably going to be 10 times more cracked, because I heard that she has HP percent base damage in her kit, very similar to Kunadan, and she might be she's probably going to be the best DPS unit in the game. I don't know, but Alice, I'm really hyped for that character. Now, his performance against bosses, it's not crazy. He is decent against bosses. So if you don't have units like White or Trauma Ray, or let's say Kaiser, if you don't have these units for Data Uric, Ejin wouldn't be a bad pick, but he is definitely not, a top tier boss unit. He's just a decent unit overall when it comes to bosses. So yeah, that's when it comes to bosses, he's not that crazy, but he is a decent pick. So I will say overall, Ejin, this character, is he worth summoning for? Like, is he a requirement? It depends on your account. If you have Violet, if you have a maxed out Violet, or you have a maxed out Evankel, I don't think you need to summon for Ejin. Like, I don't think that's a requirement, because I feel like Evankel and Violet, they're way better than Ejin, due to the fact that they deal way more damage. They're not restricted to their passive doesn't restrict them to just one element. Because Ejin, in order for him to be like in order for him to be very powerful, you have to put him in a red element team, right? That's his like that's the only way you can see his peak performance. Red element team with the huge attack increase boost. But meanwhile, for Evakill and Viole, he is literally invincible when he uses his ultimate, which is crazy. Plus, you have the Revolution Tier 4 and 5 buff, which makes him cracked. So I will say Viole, he's definitely leagues above IJIN due to the fact that his ultimate gives him, you know, invincibility, which is cracked. Like as soon as he pops his ultimate, IJIN immediately dies. And then for Evakill, she's just crazy good due to the fact that if you pair her up with Princess Anak, she can just spam her ultimate, and if you have a maxed out Evakill, it's over. Like she's just insanely cracked. So Evakill definitely is still the top tier red element DPS unit alongside with Viole. For Jin Sung, I do feel like IJIN can compete with Jin Sung, but when it comes to Evakill and Viole, he's just not on their level. These units are still insanely overpowered. Alice, on the other hand, the next collab SSR Plus character, is probably going to be, she's probably going to compete with Evakill and Viole. Who knows? Because her kit kind of sounds insane. So, IJIN, I'll say he is the third best red element DPS unit. And then above him is Viole and Evakill. So if you have those two characters, then I don't think you need to summon for IJIN. I don't think he's a requirement. But if your red element team is suffering, like if you have no DPS characters, if they're not maxed out, then IJIN would be a great start. I feel like he'll be definitely a good start. He is pretty solid with low copies, and he can do pretty solid damage for you, and he'll help you progress in red element trial. Because I will say in red element trial, I was stuck on it for a long time because my red element team was just terrible. My Viole is at 3 green stars, my Evankill's at 3 purple stars. It's just trash. But IJIN, on the other hand, he's actually going to help me progress a lot more in red element trial because he's pretty good with low dupes, and he's a really solid DPS unit overall, especially when it comes to soloing enemies. So once again, depends on your account. If you have other red element meta units maxed out, don't go for him. But if you don't have other red element units maxed out, I would definitely try to get some copies on IJIN because he will definitely boost your account progression. So that's pretty much it for today's guide video. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. And tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Is IJIN a really good unit, or is he very, very mid? Share your opinions, share your thoughts, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.